It's on this one?
This one.
Oh, this one. Can you hear? Hello?
I haven't turned it on yet.
Oh. The last career panel was like maybe 80, 90 people.
That's a lot.
This one had like 120 regos.
No way.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're expecting like 60 to 70
Yeah.
people? Yeah.
And like in comparison to the other like cyber societies in the other unis, like our one has like the most like average. So
Wow.
yeah.
Wow.
It's cute.
We're
It's
very lucky.
cool.
Thank you for organising
Of
this.
course.
How long have you been part of the UTS CSEC team?
This is my first year being part of it. Like I've gone to events,
Nice.
but part of the exec team.
Hell yeah. Are you enjoying the team and
No, it's good.
the events that you're running?
Yeah. My team's like all guys, it's just me.
Just you?
Yeah. They're all offensive. Like they're more interested in the offensive side. I guess I'm more like on the strategy consulting side.
Yep.
Good. It's a good mix.
How many people?
Like in the team? That's a good question. It's like 9.
Are you including Nisha as well?
Sorry?
Like, are you including Nisha as well?
Oh, are you talking about Skylight?
Skylight,
Oh my goodness, sorry. I thought you were talking about here.
I'm so sorry.
Oh my god, no, we'll talk later.
UTS CSEC Alumni Career Panel for today. Thank you all for coming. So, yeah, we're the Cybersecurity Society at UTS. And we run weekly events just like this. So if you enjoy it, please do come to our following events. But to get started, we have our 2026 sponsors. So our primary sponsor, we have Activate UTS and FEIT faculty. For our gold sponsorships, we have Vocus, Bugcrowd, and Amsterdam. For our platinum sponsor, we have Fortinet and Essential Energy. So thank you to our sponsors. We can make these events happen. So today we have our career panel up here. So all these panelists are past UTS CSEC executives. And today Jerica here will be moderating. So please give them a round of applause.
Hello guys, welcome to the Career Panel event night. My name is Jerica. I guess to start us off, since we are all alumni here, maybe just introduce yourselves, what you do, what year you graduated, and the degree you studied, and what your role was at CSEC as well. So I'll just pass on the mic.
Hello, my name is Larry Zechter. I'm a technical program manager at Google. Not a lot of people know what that is. Sometimes I still struggle to understand that. But to summarize it, I take care of all the vulnerabilities that come into Alphabet. So whether that be Google, YouTube, Waze, Waymo, any acquisition that we own, we assess and triage the vulnerabilities. We ask ourselves a few questions. What is the vulnerability? What type of impact does it have? What are we going to do about it? And what are we going to tell the world? My team doesn't fix the vulnerability or the exploit. We effectively grab all the hundreds of engineers and steer them in the right direction to make things mitigate and remediate themselves. It's a challenging role. We move at 100 million kilometers an hour, and it definitely has its paces. I graduated UTS in 2019 with a biscuit, along with some of the alumni here. I taught offensive security for a few years here at UTS. My journey started in 2016 in this very room up at the top with my first lecture with Dr. Luke Matheson. We incubated the UTS Security Society in 2017, coming from an in-person CTF called StarCon. And then 2 years within that incubation, we won Society of the Year, which was an incredible feat. But I am where I am today with this community and with the very people sitting with me in this room.
Awesome. My name's Bronwyn Mercer, and I run the security, IT, infrastructure and privacy team at Eucalyptus, which is an Australian telehealth company operating across 5 different countries around the world. Earlier this year, we were acquired by a US telehealth company called Hims & Hers, and so we're now part of a much larger global healthcare company that aims to make healthcare more accessible to people, to make digital healthcare the best it can be, and kind of to push the boundaries of what's possible in the healthcare space. And obviously, working in the healthcare space, we deal with a lot of very sensitive data and provide critical services to patients around the world. And so as part of my role, I'm building and protecting systems that protect the data of hundreds of thousands of patients in Australia, UK, Germany, Canada, and soon to be a couple of extra countries in Latin America and the Spanish-speaking Europe, which is really exciting. I studied a Bachelor of Science in IT and like Larry, graduated in 2019. After returning from my exchange in Singapore at the end of 2018, I was always looking for a cybersecurity society at UTS and kind of hoped that somebody would start it. Came back from my exchange and was pleasantly surprised that a group of students had already assembled to start a cybersecurity society. And so I took time out of my lunch break one day at work to come on campus because I was a mature age student. I studied part-time in the evenings around working in cybersecurity, and came in one day in my lunch break, went to the Clubs Day stall, and I don't know if you were there on that day, maybe you were there, and talked to some of the very first generation of CSEC executives and kind of said to them, I'm so excited that this exists, like, please take me in. And then got elected onto the Gen Com and stayed with UTS Cyber for, I think, 3 or 4 years as Gen Com and then head of diversity and then as a alumni advisor. But I guess to answer the original question about like how I got into cyber, I was very lucky after I finished high school to get an IT traineeship. Did a Cert 4 in IT was working at the Reserve Bank of Australia, and then stayed on there, had an amazing mentor who made a role for me in the cyber team, and so I was just working full time, doing uni on the side, and got to, I guess, do the practical side before getting the paperwork sorted by going to uni. So happy to talk more about my experience in the next questions.
Hi, I'm Andrew Souders. I'm a security researcher at the Commonwealth Bank. Our job kind of focuses on offensively or adversarially testing emerging technologies or assessing emerging scenarios or techniques against technologies that we might be using at the bank in the near future or are currently in the process of implementing outside of a regular penetration testing cycle. So a lot of the vulnerabilities that we have to assess or the stuff that we're doing is not so much driven by like the traditional penetration testing cycle where you go through and you like find a checklist of vulnerabilities and you try all of them. Ours is very objective driven of like what's the worst case scenario for this particular platform or technology, and can we make that happen and then demonstrate to executives in language that they understand like how that works. With AI coming out, a lot of that work is focusing on that at the moment, which is super interesting. It's really fun dealing with platforms where the only limit to how you can exploit it is kind of how you can phrase or encapsulate actual human language. So yeah, that's what I'm doing at the moment. I come from a background of 4 or 5 years in offensive security consultancy. So working at companies like Context Information Security, which then became Accenture after they got bought, or Securo and The Missing Link, working in that penetration testing and red teaming lifecycle. So testing applications that companies have come to us and said, like, how could a hacker attack this? Or in red team scenarios, how would actual advanced persistent threats like nation states or like hacktivist groups target us, and demonstrating like from end to end, like from phishing to achieving persistence to then escalating your privileges, how that could happen and how that could actually impact organizations. So I didn't actually graduate from UTS. I dropped out in 2020 when I got my first job. I was doing a Bachelor of Science in IT, came into the society mostly to competitively hack. I'd heard about a thing called Cybersecurity, which is, at the time, was the universities being pitted against each other to try to test different scenarios or different categories of attacks. So there was web application, enterprise security, etc. And we ended up winning, my team, the prize for the highest placed first year team. And I was kind of hooked after that. Jumped onto the CSEC board for a bit as the director of education, I think for 2 years. It felt like 2. It's a lot of work. We used to joke that position was cursed because anyone who did it would inevitably learn a lot about offensive security testing, and then they would go and get a job in offensive testing. And they would bring in companies like Volcus as sponsors. It was a really good way for us to build relationships. But yeah, that's me. Happy to talk more about that later.
Hi everyone, my name is Tanushka Singh, and I am a cloud engineer, HMC engineer grad, essentially at Macquarie Cloud Services. And so I graduated UTS studying a degree of Biscuit as well in 2025, so not that long ago. I've been in the role for about a year, and again, starting out, so just trying to find my way through the industry, trying to figure out how, I guess, security has changed so much, and the fact that it's so mature now, with every company trying to focus on their security posture. So my role itself is kind of hybrid. It's not fully security or cybersecurity, I should say. It's a lot of cloud infra mixed in with the cybersecurity aspect as well. So I do incident response, a lot of break fix, a lot of just cloud networking. So it's a mixture of different things, but it's a lot to learn, and there's a lot in the role as well. So yeah, that's pretty much it.
Hello, I'm James Webb. I am a excuse me, sorry. I am a SOC analyst at CyberCX. Sorry. And yeah, so I'm sorry, my words are escaping me at the moment. But I was previously a junior information security analyst at a quantity surveying firm, and so that's where I was for the last 2 years. And yeah, now I'm at CyberCX. I analyze suspicious behavior and determine whether it's actually a hacker hacking in or just someone doing something normal. But yeah, I used to be the general committee and then director of conferences at at CSAC, and yeah, I was involved in hosting and organizing CSACCon and other workshops, and I'm still finishing my degree. Actually, I'm in my last semester now, so one more subject and I'm done. So yeah, that's me.
Nice. Thank you. Oh, you can just pass it back to James. I just want to start. Sorry? Oh, just passing on back to James because you said you're in your last semester of uni. So
That's correct, yeah.
yeah, right? From what I understand, you actually broke into cyber when you're in your first year of uni.
That's correct, yeah.
How did you break into cyber being in your first year with no experience back then?
Yeah, look, I was always very passionate about cybersecurity. I was very eager to learn as much as I could, and so I just tried to surround myself with knowledgeable people, and that was one great thing actually about CSAC is that I got to meet so many people who were either already in the industry but also very passionate, who had done things that I could learn from, like introduced me to CTFs and all that, and so I fell into that for a little bit, and just being able to speak to all these people and learn from their experience was very helpful. Sorry.
Okay, have a quick hydration break.
Yeah, I also did some certifications and CTFs, and yeah, I just applied to crazy on LinkedIn, went to conferences, spoke to everyone, and yeah, that's what helped me land my first role.
Nice. I can imagine, like, being a student as well as studying, it's a lot to manage, right? So how did you go about balancing, working as well as studying? Was like studying a priority for you, or was it more of like you wanted more of the practical experience?
To me, I always wanted, nothing really beats like hands-on practical experience. So for me, my priority was always working, but I still, granted it was very difficult, but I did manage to strike a balance where I was doing work and uni full time. And yeah, look, I'm very glad I did. It worked out well, and yeah, no, it was got to do a bit of time management. I had the this app called Structured on my phone, and I also had like a Pomodoro timer to help me like study and whatnot. So that just helped me manage my time effectively, and yeah, meet both commitments.
Nice, perfect, that's good. Tanishka, you are a graduate at the moment as a cloud engineer at Macquarie. How did you go about what you wanted to do post-graduation? Like, I can imagine you're in your final year, you're like, what am I going to do in cyber? Did you have any interests beforehand specifically in cyber, or how did you go about post-grad?
Yeah, no, of course. I guess, well, I was always interested in cybersecurity. I didn't mention, but I was with obviously with Cybersecurity Society. So I was president in 2024. Yeah. And so I was helping with CSACCon and a bunch of things here and there. But that entire experience was very enlightening onto what the industry is like. So I knew I always wanted to break into cybersecurity, but as to like what to specialize or what to do, I wasn't really sure. I felt like I needed to actually get a bit of more experience into what the day-to-day is like. So I graduated in 2025, but I guess straight out of uni, I didn't have like a job ready, or I should say the market was a bit busy with a lot of grads coming out into the industry, and they're all looking for opportunities. So as James mentioned, I was also applying on LinkedIn and applying just through Seek and other places as well. But it's more of just you have to realize that regardless of what the opportunity is, sometimes it's just you want to break in and you have to kind of understand what the role is going to be about, and you realize that it may be for you, it may not be for you. So it's very important to kind of like not focus too hard on like a very specific niche. I feel like at the beginning, especially if you're not sure, but like that was my case. So I wasn't like too certain on where I wanted to go. So I found that going into, I guess, just an IT role in general, or just a cybersecurity role that's very broad, will help me kind of look at the playing field and where I want to go and what I would like from there. So that's kind of what I did, and that's how I landed in my current role. So yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I can imagine like with how saturated like the industry is and how competitive it is for the students that, you know, they don't know where exactly they want to go. How can students with limited experience actually position themselves to, maybe because you went through a graduate program, how can they be like this is what I bring to the table. I may not have any experience at the moment, but what can they materially do to show like their experience and what, yeah.
Yeah, no, of course. So I guess students with limited experience, or just like people like myself who are trying to find what to do in the industry, I think a natural curiosity in just trying to like learn. I was just talking with Andrew just earlier, and we were just talking about like it's not about how much you know, but like the willingness to learn. So that's like perfectly phrased. But yeah, it's more of are you willing to learn and grow as a person, not just on the technical side, just also on like your own skills side. And if you're willing to put in like the effort to kind of learn more about even just something simple as like a home lab, or trying to like develop your own skills on the side, that is, I think, what is more important than trying to, I guess, focus on like certifications, or like trying to be like, oh, if I build a home lab, I know I'll get a job. Like that's not really the strategy. So yeah.
Nice. And James, I remember that you had some certifications that you said you were working on like whilst you were studying. Yes. Like OSCP, and then also like some blue team related ones. What are your thoughts in terms of the value of certifications versus like other things that you've done?
Look, I think it's good to have a balance. Certifications are just a way of showing competency in certain areas, and sorry, there are many ways. There are many ways of showing competency. So yeah, home labs are great. And that can also, it fills out your, so sorry about this.
No, you can take a quick drink, that's all
Yeah,
good.
sorry, I might take a quick drink.
Yeah, I'll take it to Andrew. You mentioned that you dropped out of uni once you got your first job. So what was that like in terms of what you did to actually get your first job?
So I made sure that I dropped out after I had secured the job.
That's the first thing.
Dropout can work in your favor, but you do have to work very hard and know exactly what you want. I think university is a very good... It's a ground where you get exposed to a lot of different things and perspectives, whereas when you're working on your own, like the way I kind of penciled myself in, you have to be very single-minded and determined and know what path you want to take. For me, like that was kind of charted out with doing OSCP, with making sure that I was doing well on Hack the Box, but also like in that first job, like knowing that everyone else around me, like when I was going to either try to move or try to promote, was going to have a degree, which was a leg up on me. So making sure that I had demonstrated capability in a realm of things, like whether that be putting my hand up for the gigs that no one wants to do, like AWS Cloud Review and learning those platforms, or like demonstrating an ability to take knowledge further. Like I spent ages on my own learning really in depth how to attack Microsoft Active Directory. And I used that as almost a calling card through my early career as like a subject matter expert for a little bit, or trying to be. So I think like if you are going to take that path, like you can't be aimless about it. You have to know exactly what you want and how you're going to get there, kind of.
Nice. And with a few years of experience now, how has the threat landscape changed now with like, you know, the surge of AI? You got like the Mythos, the Hugging Face, all of that.
It's the speed and scale that attackers can operate at, especially for us. Security research specifically, which is something that or AI-driven security research is something that I've been very interested in. So basically trying to find 0 days in binaries or like enterprise applications using AI harnesses means that you can augment so much of that reverse engineering work that a human would have to do, and you can do it much faster. I don't know if anyone's ever looked at like, if anyone's played with like reverse engineering challenges and used Ghidra, which is a decompiler. Decompiled code is unreadable. It is the worst. But like looking at that, a human can only kind of consider so many pathways at any given time, and they have to go and reverse it themselves by hand. If you give an AI the right tools and the right prompting, and kind of nudge it along in the ways that are kind of sane, like you can get a working reverse engineered binary pretty quickly, and then you can use that to find vulnerabilities in. Much easier to find bugs in readable code than like having to dynamically fuzz it yourself. In terms of recon as well, like you can run all of your tools and then feed all the outputs into AI, and it can tell you relatively quickly, yes, this site's brochureware, or that's not even hosted on your target platform or your target's infrastructure. Oh, this looks like a custom application. Maybe you want to go down that path. The trade-off with that is that there is a lot of AI slop, and it is prone to hallucination. It's not going to replace your knowledge. You still have to know what you're doing to filter all of that out, but it can very easily lead you to more critical paths. And attackers are doing that as well. Like recently we had I don't know the veracity on it, but the ChatGPT Hugging Face breach. I think that I think there's probably going to be another question on that, but that speaks to how important defense in depth is, and knowing like how to architect networks and that sort of thing. But yeah, it's just speed scale.
No, for sure. Larry, you came from a background where you were doing detection engineering and also offensive before now being a technical program manager. How did your approach to security change from, you know, moving from finding vulnerabilities on its own, and now you're leading initiatives where this is how you actually mitigate them?
Great question. I used to work at a company called BugCrowd, where during my tenure we executed just a little bit over 150 penetration tests. And doing a penetration test is easy. You put in your findings, all your critical vulnerabilities in a report, and you send it off, and that's your product. There's no workflow after that. There's no other responsibility. And the inversion of when I came in to do more defensive style security or purple teaming security at Google, the whole script has flipped completely. I don't find the bugs anymore. I have a queue of thousands of bugs. And the question now for me and my team is, what do we do with them? How do we prioritize them? How do we convince all the product areas that we work with that these risks are real? We don't question whether the bugs are valid or not. We know that they are. They're found by really respectable researchers such as Andrew and some other people in the team here in this room. So we have the debate of convincing these engineering teams who have their own vertical of hey, we have 3 months of project work to do, we have a manager that we're reporting to, and we have other projects that we need to land successfully. Why should we listen to what Larry and his team care about with the risks of these vulnerabilities within our products? So my team have effectively become really good at persuading people. There's a common misconception about security people always being the most hated in the room. We try and make sure that there's a healthy balance of that. We try and translate the security risk to these engineering teams, and we try and emphasize why it's so critical to remediate them and mitigate them and the impact that it has on not just the product that they're selling or the product that they're developing, but the billions of users that Google has to protect. So transitioning from offensive security into defensive security definitely has a lot of pros and cons. There's a lot of workflows that you don't see if you're in just one siloed role. The benefit of working at an organization like Google is that you get to see a little bit of balance of both. Hope that answered the question.
Yeah, for sure. I can imagine, like, you know, we talk about communication being an important soft skill and translating, you know, this is a risk, like, Bronwyn, in terms of translating these risks, how do you go about presenting it to the executive, the leadership, the people that actually have a say or decision in what money they invest in terms of cybersecurity?
Yeah, well, if you think about it, security exists, we exist as a team because the business makes money. And so, you know, if the business doesn't make money, if it's not successful, we don't have jobs. And so in a very commercial focused business, the things that I talk about when I'm talking about security risks are revenue, reputation, and risk to delivery in terms of risk to of delivery of products to our customers. And so if that connection is too long, then obviously like the executives are not going to care about it. So usually I'll try and translate a risk like, for example, a hacked customer's account into what are the penalties that we could potentially be charged from a regulator if that customer takes that breach up to a regulatory report, and then we get slapped with a GDPR fine or something like that. So there's actually like a monetary value associated with that particular risk, and because executives are operating at that level of making business decisions and talking in dollar figures, then that helps them to make a prioritization decision against all the other things that they're making decisions about in their day. And maybe, you know, for me, I think, okay, well, that customer's account breach is going to cost us $10,000, but there's another risk that they're dealing with that's like a commercial risk that's going to cost us $100,000. Like it's a no-brainer for us to deprioritize the cyber risk and put money into the other kind of commercial risk that's going to help the business to make money. So I think like having the bigger picture in mind of we exist to make the business successful helps you to approach executives with the right kind of mindset and motivation, and for them to see you as peers, and not like a combative kind of relationship.
Yeah, I reckon because, like, you know, we come from like technical roles, we tend to get carried away with like, oh, this is a risk, like, you know, we got to do something about it. But translating it to the leadership where they understand that there's, you know, like financial costs or like maybe reputation, and especially working in like with healthcare, and you know, you have an impact on like saving people's lives. How has those priorities changed in terms of security?
Priorities in terms of
like protecting systems like in health.
I think it's tricky because ultimately we're still making money, and healthcare obviously has a public good, but the business still exists for some kind of commercial purpose. And so I personally don't think that there's that much difference between the way that you would operate in like a healthcare business versus maybe a bank. Maybe it would depend on the regulations that exist in the particular market, and how strict those regulators are. In the markets that we operate in, there are some pretty strict regulation, particularly in Europe. So that like that kind of drives executives to take action because they're like, okay, there's actually some precedent for some hefty fines that we could get slapped with if we don't do things correctly. But I think if the regulations didn't exist, then it would just be kind of like a free-for-all, and they'll just be optimizing to make heaps of money.
Yeah, and coming from like starting out technical and now you're in leadership, what did that transition look like?
Good question. Yeah, this is my first formal leadership role. And so I got very lucky coming into Eucalyptus that my manager took a bet on me. In my past roles, I had come from consulting, like similar to you, working in like technical leadership. And so it's quite common when you've been an IC for a while in your career, you've like been a really deep technical SME and you've specialized in an area. At some point, somebody will probably say, hey, you have some good soft skills. Do you want to like lead a team? And so you'll get like a bit of an informal leadership role and start to like influence people and give people clarity, structure, direction, coaching. I'm not sure if you're like starting to get to this kind of level, maybe at some level. Somebody will come and like tap you on the shoulder and be like, hey, your soft skills look kind of good. Like, do you want to try that? If you do like the people skills side, like 100% recommend trying it out and seeing if you like it before opting to move into a formal kind of leadership role. In consulting, I started like leading consulting engagements, and I'd have like a few consultants like dotted line reporting into me, and I found that really satisfying to be able to give them mentoring, coaching without having to be their like formal line manager and do all the administrative stuff that comes with being a manager. And I realized that I really love seeing other people succeed and grow. And then when the opportunity came up to take this role at Eucalyptus, and it was like an actual formal leadership role, I was very transparent with my manager. I'm like, I haven't been a formal people manager before, but I think I can learn it. He then like gave me the role, and I just read lots and lots of books and I'm like learning every day to be better as a manager. But it's a different mindset because you're not doing things all yourself. You're enabling others to be successful and realizing that you can have such a bigger impact by doing things as a team rather than doing things as like a lone hero. And I think also realizing that like you've been told you're smart your whole career, it's actually not about you anymore. It's about everybody else being smarter and enabling everybody else to kind of be better than you. So it takes a lot of humility, but I really find it's like super rewarding.
Oh, that's so lovely. And Larry, you're also in a leadership role. What does it take for someone to be a good leader?
Off the backbone of what Bron was mentioning about being the smartest person in the room, to be a good leader, it's not about that anymore. It does need to exist in parallel, but I think more importantly is trust in the room with the people that you are trying to convince the most. There is this snowball effect of security people, being the loudest in the room and usually the most annoying as well. But when you need to effectively ask for leadership's approval, for your VP of engineering approval to get something fixed because it impacts the company, but equally it's going to shut down the company for a few hours, they need to trust you. They don't need to know that you're smart. You need to come in well prepared. It's about having the aptitude of reading the room, reading what the people in the room need from you the most. So to answer your question, I think trust is really an underrated task of fitting inside of a leadership role, growing a good rapport with the team that you're leading and the team that you're working with, and hiring people smarter than you is the catch.
Yeah, I can imagine like trust is hard to come around nowadays with like AI and like AI slop. So Andrew, I wanted to ask about how is AI changing like attacker behavior, and how should defenders think about security now in relation to, you know, all of like AI slop coming around, and I can imagine like for Bugcrowd as well, like if people submitting like vulnerabilities, a lot of them would probably, you know, speed run it through AI and going through that.
Yeah, for sure. I think like coming at it from like an offensive security standpoint, the hardest thing to attack is a well-designed network or a well-designed application. AI is not really going to change that, but it will change how quickly you can make the determination that something is well-designed. At the speed that AI consumes and can disseminate information to an attacker that knows how to use it, if there are any, like, taking the security research or the binary exploitation angle, if you are using memcopy the wrong way, or if you're a web application, if you're reflecting inputs insecurely, or if you're in Windows Active Directory, the first thing the AI will try is like, are there service accounts? Like, it can very quickly do all of those things at speed that a human can't do. As a defender, that means that you have to have anticipated that that's going to happen. You can't rely on obscurity anymore. You can't rely on technologies that are like black boxes. That's a personal belief of mine, is that if you want to defend, let's say, an internal network, you can't just rely on your next-gen VPN like a Netscope or a Zscaler to apply that security for you. You want to have proper segmentation, and a lot of that isn't like defending against just AIs. Like, a segmented network will stop a well-organized, non-AI enabled attacker. But it gives it more hoops to jump to, and it will increase the cost of using AI for an attacker. For instance, let's say that they've dropped into your network's DMZ, and they're trying to find a way to jump into your internal data store, which is hosted in a completely different network region. If you have a flat network, an AI will find that in seconds. A non-AI enabled attacker will find that in minutes. If there's network segmentation that's properly applied, now suddenly an attacker has to find a jump host. They have to exploit the jump host, find a way to get a level of privilege in that network that lets them move across. Suddenly now you've got 4 or 5 steps that both an attacker and an AI are going to have to consume. The attacker, it increases time. For the AI, it'll increase the context that's used. I'm not sure if any of you guys have seen a enterprise grade Claude bill, but they get pretty hard to manage when you're on a budget after a while. So yeah, I guess it just boils down to like trying to increase the cost of entry for an attacker in any way you can.
Nice and awesome. I reckon for the students now, I'll open it up to everyone. If you were a student trying to break into cyber, what would you focus on in the next 6 to 12 months?
Does anyone else want to go first?
Do you want to pass it up?
Yeah.
Would you like to have it?
All right, I'll happily go first. We're back to me. For the next 6 to 12 months, if I were like starting out from greenfields again, this is kind of something that I experienced when I was hiring for junior level and grad level cyber roles when I worked at Securo. A lot of the time in offensive security particularly, Bron, Larry, Tanushka and James can probably speak to this at different levels, but I don't particularly think cybersecurity is very entry-level friendly. I think the hiring markets tend to reflect that. I saw a stat recently, if you're ever talking to like cyber recruiters, posted by a group called Cybersec People, where entry-level pen testing roles, traditionally there's about 5 or 6 a year, 2 or 3 every couple of months. This year there were none. There have been none so far. And that's scary. The way that you counteract that is that you kind of have to shuffle your way into it. For me, that started out with getting CCNA, which I think Tanushka spoke about getting. It's demonstrated cybersecurity is a field that covers all of IT. It covers human IT, it covers networks, it covers development, it covers cloud. like all of the, like your security principles have to be applied across so many different tech stacks and so many different paradigms that I would simply just pick one. For me, it was networking. I loved understanding how Windows or enterprise networks operated. I enjoyed testing infrastructure and just going really deep on it. Understanding how it works to the point where you could probably get a job in it or have certifications that would let you get those jobs in it, because that's going to differentiate you from someone who's just done like, and don't get me wrong, doing Hack the Box and Try Hack Me and like getting your certifications is great, but every other grad is doing the same thing. The differentiator is going to be your knowledge in those fields, no matter what it is. Once you get the job, they can cross-skill you. Like, I got in on infrastructure knowledge and I had to learn through my teeth being yanked out how to test web. But yeah, like, it's pretty much it from me.
I think building on that, like the depth in IT and infra also means that when you jump ship into security, you have an appreciation of what those people do in their roles. Because as a security person, you often are like providing advice to people who are building those systems, whether it's like they're building the systems or you're defending the systems and you then need to respond to an incident. Like you're all going to be working together, right? So then you can speak the same language of the IT and infra teams, like because you've done those roles. You can be like, yeah, I know, like that's how you've set up your Active Directory. I know it's terrible because I worked on that 10 years ago. I know the reality of like having 10 global and like domain admin accounts. Like I would do exactly the same. Like one of the benefits I had in my early years of my career doing an IT traineeship is I got to like try out different areas of the IT department when I was at the RBA, and like it was so varied. It was like installing firewalls, like hardware-based firewalls back in those days. It was like checking servers in the data center. It was coming in on the weekends to do patching. It was like firewall rules, service desk support, and like all of those things taught me absolute foundations that I come back to every day today, because I have this like mindset, a holistic mindset of what it takes to run IT in an organization. And now running a team where I've got security, IT, and infrastructure all under the same roof, a lot of security just comes about because IT and infrastructure is done well. So like I can actually have a very lean security team because the IT and infra people are building systems and maintaining systems securely by design, and it's not a bolt-on approach. So yeah, do IT and infra. Love the networking stuff as well. Learn Active Directory.
Yeah, just to continue the theme, if I could circle it back to what students can do for the next 6 to 12 months, I mean, the points that you and Andrew raised are both really critical and important. A little bit of trauma dumping, and I understand that as well, with trying to be on the same level as every other team. There's so many different facets within cybersecurity. Saying that you want to become a cybersecurity professional is equivalent of saying you want to become a professional in the medical field. You know, a GP and a surgeon are two completely different roles, both incredible, both really challenging, but equally in cybersecurity, I guess I could count at least 25 different roles that exist now. Figure out what you want. Do you want to break apps? Do you want to write cloud architecture? Do you want to defend your company from attackers? Figure that path out for yourself. And like Andrew and Bron said, traversing inside of that company will be much easier to land an internal role than it will be to find an external role. Mainly because the reality today is that the market is really oversaturated. And I don't want to sound like as if I'm pessimistic, it's just the unfortunate reality. And so you're not missing out on any opportunities. You're not going to be able to not pivot away from that particular role. Don't think that you're selling yourself short just because you're going into one directed avenue of your career in cybersecurity. You'll always be able to pivot, whether you think that or not. I thought the same thing 10 years ago sitting in this very room, thinking that I'd only be siloing myself into one particular role, but now I'm managing 10 different hats in one role. I'm very grateful for the position that I'm in. So if you find the role that you want to pursue, don't stop. Speak to the UTS CSEC team. That's what they're here for. They're here to promote education, career growth. Speak to us after as well, and we can talk about specific certifications. I'm not sure if that's a question you have. And then there's another argument whether certifications are helpful or not. I think they genuinely are. They'll definitely help you learn more. They won't help you effectively land the role, but they'll help you with the applicant tracking system for the resume. But then don't forget that you actually have to speak to that certification in the interview. If you put something on your resume, don't forget that you will have to speak to it, and we will talk to you about it. We won't combat you. As an interviewer, I'm on your team. I want you to be hired at our company. I'm not against you. I'm there to help you as much as you can for you to be on my team. That's why I chose to interview you. So I hope that helps.
I guess my 2 cents on your question. So how students can break into cyber now. I guess like jumping on the theme that like, yes, I guess starting in a team or starting just in IT and then pivoting across and learning the different areas is definitely the way to go. Like, as I mentioned, my role is quite hybrid. So I do a lot of infra as well as just like security as well. And so because of that, I touch a lot of hardware, I touch a lot of, I would be in the data center, I'd be doing a lot of firewall change rules and just a lot of different things. But we're talking as a graduate who was like at university, as much as the university teaches you fantastic things, when you break into the industry, there's just a whole world of new things that you just did not know about. And so once you're in the industry and you're doing like lots of different tasks and a lot of the day-to-day jobs and responsibilities, you start to pick up on things, and that really does, I guess, put everything into perspective from cybersecurity. So once you understand like infrastructure, you do get a better understanding of like the offensive and defensive side of security. Like when I was initially doing incident response, I needed a lot of help. I had no idea what I was doing. And I guess now that like I've progressed in the role a bit, understanding the info side of what is Active Directory, and then actually trying to move that across and see that, okay, like now I can see what's going on in the logs. I can understand what the attacker was trying to do, or in this case, just a user, because you never know. And so that really is quite helpful. What students can do, I guess, is to like not be like closed-minded, but unless you're trying to break into offensive security, but just keep an open mind that like trying to break into the industry is the way. You want to try and like just have the goal and mindset to learn, and from there, once you're in, you can like navigate across. I actually was initially hired as like a project management kind of style role, and so I was introduced to statement of works and more on like the delivery side of things. So kind of having the opportunity to be more technical and learn more in that way, trying to jump on the train there, is like it does put into perspective how the whole, like how it all works, because it is a company at the end of the day. You are trying to produce a service or a product. So yeah.
No, that's so good. James, you mentioned that, you know, talking to people was really important. So how would you say how important networking is for the students as well?
Yeah, no, networking is really important. Sorry, could you repeat the question? Sorry,
in terms of what students can do the next 6 to 12 months, how important is it to network with other people as opposed to just doing like maybe their home labbing at home versus talking to other people?
Yeah, look, I think networking is it's really important just because the people you speak to have existing experience. So by talking to them, you can learn from their years of experience in the industry and gain an insight that you can't really gain yourself, just because they've experienced different things. And yeah, look, sorry.
That's so fine.
Based on the things that they've done, that can help steer your what you should do to end up to, if you want a similar role to what they're in, for example. So if you want like a SOC analyst role, talking to SOC analysts and finding what's important for them, what they do in their role, what skills they leverage, this is an insight you can only really gain from talking to a SOC analyst. Same for a pen tester, if you want to be a pen tester. Talking to a pen tester, in this case, would be a great way to learn. So, yeah, just being able to learn from their experience, I find, is absolutely invaluable. And just, yeah, hearing the stories they have, because it's possible also that your idea of the industry or that particular role is actually not actually the case. And so hearing what the role is like from someone in the field can bring an insight to you and help you decide whether that is something that you like, and you know what helped them get to where they are, what's important for the role, and yeah.
Yeah, that's so good. Now we got a panel of like everyone that has a wide variety of expertise. We're just putting up our Slido for the audience now to have any questions that they want to ask. So just put in your questions. We've got people from offensive, cloud, leadership. And I guess while we're waiting, Tanushka, since you have the mic, what surprised you most about, you know, your first role into the workforce and being in cloud and now to where you are?
What surprised me? Well, I guess for me it was just like I didn't know so much. Like I felt like once I was in my role, it was really eye-opening to kind of understand all the different teams, the different perspectives, and like a lot of what's happening. I feel like from university, from talking to people, I had an idea of what it was, but you only ever hear like one aspect. You only like, especially since I was going to conferences, I was talking to lots of different people just in security. I didn't realize how much was actually happening outside of security and how much that's actually related to security. So like once I was within that space, I didn't realize how it all worked together, and like seeing that happen, it was kind of like it put into perspective, like, okay, this is what I'm going to be doing, and like if someone is in this role, this is what they're going to be worrying about, and trying to work with one another is very important. But yeah, I think especially like as a graduate, just being able to like touch a lot of different types of technology and then be able to also do security with that, I think that was what I found really, really interesting. But yeah, it's a bit of, it's a mixture of everything, right? So.
Yeah, I guess having that realization from, you know, when you're studying cyber to when you're actually being in the business, and you have to understand this is what the executives think are important versus this is what like the cyber team is important, thinks that is important. So no, that's a really good point.
Yeah.
We've got a lot of questions here.
Oh no.
I know we talked about certifications a lot. What are the most important certificates to obtain for a cybersecurity entry role? If anyone wants to take that question.
Entry role.
Can we huddle up?
Oh yeah, yeah, for sure.
You want to take this one? Yeah.
With certifications, I think it varies based on what you kind of what role you're looking for. So, if you want to be a SOC analyst, whilst helpful, the OSCP isn't probably the best cert for you to get. So, one thing that I actually found super useful was to almost kind of get the companies to help me figure out which certification to get. And so I'd look on LinkedIn, and I'd look on the job that I would like to get, for example, and I'd look for what the certifications they're asking for. And you'll find that, sure, there are a few of the like HR kind of posted jobs where they're just asking for like a CEH or something that's not not the most practical. But you'll find that a lot of these job roles will have similar certifications that they're asking for these roles. So for a pen tester, you'll see the OSCP, you'll see PNPT. For a blue role, you might be looking for like the Blue Team Level 1, the SC200. And for GRC, you might be looking for the ISO 27000 lead auditor, something like that. So it really depends on the role that you're looking at and would like to get hired for. And I find that just to be a really helpful way to determine which certifications are actually worth going for. And also to kind of circle back also to where we spoke about speaking to people in the industry. If you're looking to be a SOC analyst or a pen tester, and you speak to a pen tester, you can actually see whether the particular certification that you're hunting for, what their experience was with it, whether they found it useful to their role. And yeah, I think that's a really great way to help filter out which ones are worth getting and which aren't, because there's a massive sea of them. So, yeah.
I guess my 2 cents on this question is that definitely talk to someone who's done the cert, and you want to kind of look into which area you're trying to like go into. So I've completed my CCNA, and initially I was thinking, do I really need a CCNA? What's a CCNA? So I was talking to a lot of people within my team because it's something that's, I guess, recommended that we should get as a first certification, especially as a grad. And I guess now that I've completed that certification, like that's something that I would recommend to other people as well. It really does build on your foundations of just what networking is. So like, yes, it might be based on like just Cisco, and I guess a lot of Cisco's general devices and how to function those, but it talks about a lot of fundamental knowledge that I think is just necessary for any role that you do, because I mean, without networking, do we really have lots of technology? So it's like, I think trying to put yourself in a specific hole or like niche or rabbit hole of security certifications is not always useful. Like one of my mentors when I was at UTS told me that like certifications are good when you know exactly what you want to do. So if you're not sure, it's always good to try and do a broad certification and try and just get like an understanding. That's why I suggested talking to someone who's done the cert, because they can tell you what their experience of studying for that was like, and what kind of, did it help them with their day-to-day job. So like I work in the public cloud and private cloud space. So I did my AZ 104 as well. So I guess studying for like an Azure space, because I touched that, that helps me a lot more on the public cloud side. Yeah. Whereas if you don't even touch that type of technology, then it might be not as helpful. Yeah. So like, that's my 2 cents.
Nice, thank you so much. We've got a question here in terms of international students that have no experience. How do they navigate their cybersecurity career? If anyone has a point on that?
Look, I think the international student barrier can be a really tough one to jump over. A lot of roles do require permanent residency or citizenship just because of data sovereignty laws and data sovereignty regulation. That being said, those positions do still exist. I think that they can be more few and far between. And recruiters will advertise when the company is willing to offer sponsorship to give them those roles. But that means that there is a wider applicant pool applying for a smaller set of positions where you like can get your foot in the door, and it sucks. It's really like, it's a tough barrier to cross. But I think like the best thing that you can do is to try to be like try to have those differentiators that we were speaking about before, having some domain knowledge in the role of what you're doing. For offensive security, that might be having a known specialization, certifications, and like honestly, even knowledge about the company that you're applying at and that you're going to. Like knowing the interviewers or knowing like what contributions they've made to the industry. Maybe you bring up a talk that they've done in the past, and you can do a little bit of research and have a conversation with them about that. Your goal is to overcome both the HR barrier and the memorability barrier, because like when I've had to interview 30 people for one role, the people I remember the most about those conversations are the ones who I'd have an actual conversation with. It's not just an interview. But yeah, it can be like harping on the fact that it is a much smaller field of roles in an already dwindling field of roles for entry-level cybersecurity, that it is really important to have those differentiators.
Yeah, for sure.
Just quickly, UTS CSEC has been successful with some of their international students landing a few InfoSec roles, and we've been really grateful to still keep in contact with them. However, stemming off of what the rest of the team here is saying, it really is about how you make the interviewer feel in that moment. It is about the level of research that you push yourself into that notion for. It's a really challenging space to be in, and it's really hard to talk about because I've had a lot of good close friends that were international students, and they tried really hard. They didn't give up. It's about the commitment and the momentum that you build. It's about your online resume. It's about what you blog about passionately. It's about any certifications if you can afford to, and if you can afford the time and the cost of obtaining those certifications while working, while living under a roof, while paying for your food. It's a lot of work. It's not easy, but just remember there are so many other people that are doing the same thing. So ultimately, find your momentum. Don't give up. It isn't impossible. We've seen a lot of success cases, but unfortunately the market is oversaturated with a lot of international students as well for roles that are quite scarce. Circling back, really make yourself stand out in the interview. Make it memorable. Try and connect as much as you can with the interviewer, is my advice.
Yeah, you mentioned how important it is to talk to people as well. I think that's a recurring theme in terms of networking. Are there any events that you guys have been to or any conferences you've been to that has helped you network with the people that you now know and probably, work with or have a coffee chat with?
Definitely. I sat in this very room when I had a lecture by a security professional, Luke Matheson. He introduced us to a security conference called StarCon, which was run by Atlassian and Facebook and Google, huge companies that I didn't necessarily know the extent of at the time. This was 9 years ago. And during this CTF comp, it was physical, in person. I met a security engineer from a company at the time called Symantec. That security engineer works now as a security engineering manager at Google. They got me the role that I'm in today. I created a relationship and like a formidable relationship with them in 2016, and I kept in contact, always catching up over coffee every year, asking them if they would be my mentor. I went way out of my comfort zone. I had no idea what I was doing. I pretended to know what the conversations were about, and then I quickly took down all the notes that I had during those meetings and coffees that I paid for. But then when they got the role at Google, they had free coffee and food, so I didn't have to pay for much, but at least I had a mentor that was able to give me some free food. And so after all these notes that I've collected over these times and these periods, I've gathered that momentum to build into the position that I'm in today. And I was very grateful that I was able to reach out to that person to put my foot forward into the company and apply. 7 interviews, and 3 months later landed the role. Really grateful for that. But it is an incentive to continue your networking. The incentive is not to get a role. The incentive is to build good connections with good humans who care about the same thing. Learning, suffering, being challenged, and growing deeply outside of your comfort zone is where we all strive together. So finding those like-minded people, especially at UTS CSEC, was the beginning incubator for me.
So the question is like, which specific conferences have been helpful?
Yeah.
In my experience, I found that the most powerful ways to connect with people are through volunteering together. And so CSEC is like such a great example of that, because I've made some of my best friends and found my peer group who I'm progressing through my career with at the same time. A few years ago, I had a mentor at Telstra who was their CISO, and I asked her, how did you make the jump into like very senior security leadership? And she said, when these roles come up, usually they're not even advertised. Like if you think about it, like a CISO role, it's so senior. Usually it's like, it's only advertised and broadcast through exclusive networks. And so I was like, okay, so if it's like exclusive, how do you even know about it? And she's like, you have to know the right people. And the way that you know the right people is you create yourself a cohort of people who are going through your careers at the same time. And so the way you create that cohort is through being involved in like professional societies and communities, conferences, volunteering. And I mean, there's a lot of like professional associations like ASA, for example, that exists in Sydney that's like bringing security professionals together. For me, my cohort that I'm going through my career with, I consider to be the CSEC exec committee, like people like Larry, who I met when I joined as an exec. Who would have known that when we were students and we were execs in the society that we would now end up having leadership roles in technology companies. But we're friends, and we're like, if somebody who's an exec in the society then ends up being a CISO in a company, is like hiring for a role, then you find out because you're friends. And so from my experience, to boil it down as the TLDR, the most powerful way you can open up opportunities for yourself is by creating a peer group and by working alongside those people in a volunteer capacity, because you're working towards the same goal, but you're not even paid to do it because you're just passionate about it. And so when I'm hiring as a hiring manager, one of the things I really look for is actually volunteering experience. So I think it says a lot about somebody that they are committed to something so much so that they commit their personal time to working on something and providing something to the community and bringing people together. And so beyond a specific conference that I can point to, I think volunteering in the cybersecurity space is such a great way to build your network, teaches you a lot of soft skills, and it opens doors that you won't even be able to anticipate right now, way into the future. And yeah, that's how we all know each other.
Just taking a quick different angle on that, I'm a big believer in conference networking as well. So I basically owe my career to having a beer with the right people at the right times. And some of them are my best mates now. I met a couple of people down at B-Sides, Canberra one year, and this isn't career advice, but we had a relatively wild night. But then that became a regular sort of catch up where to speak to Brun's point, where we kind of met up and we were at similar points in our careers. I'd just entered the industry. A couple of them had the same job as me and that sort of stuff. But we've all kind of stuck together as we progressed through. But that wouldn't have happened if I hadn't gotten out of my comfort zone and gone and just spoken to random people, had conversations in the line for, I don't if alcohol's not your choice, a coffee, or out in the hallway. There's a phrase, hallway con, where people they're not even in talks B-Sides or KiwiCon or DEF CON. Like, I met a guy who is one of the red teamers for P&O Cruises in the line at DEF CON, and his whole thing is he goes for weeks on end and hacks cruise ships. It's bloody awesome. And like we keep in relative touch on Twitter every so often, but whenever I go to DEF CON, we go get a sushi burrito. But like those connections one day, if I do want to go move to the US, are going to be invaluable because they know the market there. I know the market here if he ever sails a cruise ship to Balmain or something. But yeah, in terms of like immediate cons here, B-Sides, Canberra, Sydney, KiwiCon, Crikey, if it's still going on. If you can secure a ticket to TuskCon, if that comes back, that's an awesome one as well. It's quite little, so it's in a trailer park.
I guess events. For me, it was meeting a lot of people through Cybersecurity Society, once again. I think like when you talk to people that you're studying with, as Ron mentioned, you're all kind of learning together, but also because we're not all on the same level, which is helpful, you get to learn from other people who have the same interests as you. So going to conferences together, such as taking a trip to B-Sides Canberra, or even just going to, like, I think PurpleCon, and you just hear about so many different conventions that just come up and you're like, oh, I've never been there, let's go. It becomes like a trip, but you also get to learn, and you do CTFs together, you go and obviously that is a space for networking. So you get to meet people there who are high up in their careers, or even just starting just as you. And like, sometimes we forget like our network is there so we can reach out to people. So like, we're so scared to just reach out and be like, oh, hi, would you like to have like a coffee with me? Just wanted to ask you a couple questions. Or like, we forget people are there. They're just people. Like they may have a job, or they may be in the industry, but like they're willing to help someone. So like head up to someone, say hi, and just try and express your interest. Again, coming to CSEC events, specifically at uni, was pretty easy for me, because if I was just in for like a lecture or just a tutorial, I would just stay back, obviously free pizza, and then you can like learn about different things. So there's a lot of different workshops that sometimes students lead themselves, or you might have someone from the industry come and teach you about, and just like, it's a perfect opportunity to ask any question. And sometimes people think, oh wow, like that's a silly question, I shouldn't probably ask that, but like, any question works, because you're trying to learn, and everyone understands that like the only way you can get to a certain point is by asking the stupid or silly questions. You know, there is no stupid question, but like that's what helped me. So
that's so good. It's great to have, you know, all of these amazing people here with great expertise talking about networking. Now we'll go to finish off now. Thank you guys. We have pizza upstairs, and you guys can also network with everyone here. I'm just going to hand it back to Johnson now, just for some announcement, but if we can give the panelists a round of applause for their time. Thanks, Johnson.
Thank you all for coming. Thank you for the panelists again, for coming for today to present to you guys about the life of being in the industry. So we're the Cybersecurity Society. So there's a QR code to follow us and keep updated with our events. We run weekly events. So our next event will be in week 3, a Hacker Hangout on a Tuesday from 6 to 9 p.m. And then week 4, we will be collabing with TechSoc as well as Consulting Club at UTS to bring you a tech in consulting in action. So that will be on the 19th of August, and it will be like in a roundtable format. You will form teams, do some consulting in tech with sponsors, and then present afterwards. And then upcoming is our cybersecurity conference at UTS that we run. It's all student-led, so please do come along. It's a great day to hang out and, of course, network with each other, as the panelists did mention. So it will be on the 12th of September from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. So next slide is the CSECon. So yeah, our theme is Ancient Rome this year. Anyone interested is welcome. It's a $5 ticket, but I think it will be worth it. I remember coming on my first year, and yeah, I met a lot of great people there. So yeah, do come along. There's talks, there's CTFs, there's workshops, and yeah, scan the QR code if you're interested in coming and register now. And yeah, if you have any feedbacks, please do fill in the feedback form. I will be going around and checking as well. But yeah, thank you everyone. You all must be hungry. We have pizza, free pizza for you all. Please do follow the 2 people out there. I think they will be ushering you guys to the free pizza area. And then, yeah, if you have any more questions, please do ask the panelists as well in the networking time. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks so much.